through the noise, get straight to the core of things.
That's the plan.
So today, we're plunging into something that really made waves recently. You probably saw it.
Hard to miss.
Former President Trump's Chipocalypse Now threat aimed at Chicago. And that image, that
Yeah.
Apocalypse Now style image.
Very evocative.
And the quote that went with it. Wow.
Indeed.
So our mission here for this deep dive is to really unpack the layers. We're using the sources. You've shared the articles, the research.
Right. Sticking to what we have in front of us.
Exactly. Not just headlines. We want to sift through the pieces,
Yeah.
the imagery, the specific words, even the policy stuff and the reaction.
So you can understand not just what went down, but the how and the why behind it.
Yeah.
The significance.
Precisely.
Okay, so we're setting the stage for, well, a proper analysis. Breaking down the info to get at the context, the meaning of these specific deliberate actions and statements.
Let's start there then. Unpack this Chipocalypse Now threat. You mentioned that Apocalypse Now style image. For anyone who knows that film, it brings up a very particular feeling, doesn't it? Overwhelming conflict, maybe surreal.
And morally ambiguous, definitely. That descent into, well, something complex.
It's not just generic war. It feels like something deeper, psychological, maybe?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. The psychological toll, the blurring lines,
Yeah.
strategy versus maybe, madness.
So what's the impact when you use a visual like that? Something so culturally loaded in a political statement.
Well, it's fascinating, isn't it?
Okay.
The choice itself, Apocalypse Now, isn't just any war movie reference.
No.
It suggests a type of conflict, messy, maybe morally gray, pursued with this almost obsessive drive, pushing boundaries.
Okay.
So when you deploy that image, especially against a city like a threat, it acts like this visual metaphor. It's meant to signal, I think, an uncompromising resolve, maybe even extreme.
Right. Setting a stage.
Exactly. Priming the audience for a narrative of, intense struggle, a no-holds-barred approach,
Yeah.
disregarding limits.
It skips the rational argument.
Completely. Go straight for that emotional gut feeling, visceral impact. That's the goal from a comms perspective.
Okay. And then, this is where it gets really sharp. Right after that image, the sources mention this line. I love the smell of deportations in the morning.
The direct quote.
Not just stating a policy, but this visceral language. It's got that sensory thing going on. Designed to provoke, right? Whether you cheer or you recoil.
Absolutely. It's meant to hit hard.
So what message is that specific phrasing trying to send, especially coupled with the visual?
Well, connecting the dots, that visual plus this quote, it creates an incredibly precise and, frankly, quite aggressive message.
Aggressive, yeah.
The phrasing itself, I love the smell of deportations. It's intensely evocative. Like you said, it echoes that famous movie line, obviously.
You're right. From the same film.
Exactly. But here, it's trying to convey satisfaction, even like a pleasure taken in a specific policy action, a very contentious one.
So it's not just we will do this, it's we enjoy doing this.
That seems to be the implication. It's an emotional declaration. And using the word smell, it almost normalizes it, doesn't it? Makes it sensory, everyday, not bureaucratic or even about people.
That's a disturbing thought.
Well, it raises that question, right? How does language like this, with that visual, not just communicate a plan, but actively try to shape how you perceive it?
Frame it emotionally.
Precisely. Frame it in a specific emotional and maybe moral landscape.
Yeah.
Something to be relished, not just done. It's trying to rally support, among certain groups.
Okay. Now let's pivot, because the sources mention another really significant piece happening around the same time.
Right.
President Trump apparently also signed an executive order to rename a major government department.
Yes, the Department of Defense.
And the new name proposed.
The Department of War.
Wow. Okay, that's not just changing the letterhead, is it? That feels monumental.
Oh, absolutely. This is a crucial detail. It adds another really deep layer to what we're looking at.
How so? What's the weight behind that kind of change?
Well, think about the history. The Department of War was the original name. It was changed to Defense back in 1947.
Ah, right after World War II.
Exactly. That change reflected a big shift. A post-war desire to emphasize a defensive posture. Cold War, nuclear age starting.
Defenses sounds less aggressive.
Precisely. War carried older associations, maybe conquest, expansion. Defense was about safeguarding, preventing harm, peace through strength, that kind of thing.
So changing it back.
It's a deliberate symbolic act, a rhetorical move. It signals a shift away from that primarily reactive protective stance.
Towards what?
Towards overtly embracing conflict. embracing the direct use of military force as a primary tool.
So it's not just words, it's redefining the mission.
That's how it reads, redefining the perceived mission and identity of a core government body. It sends a message, domestically and internationally.
What kind of message?
A more aggressive one, confrontational. To allies, maybe it signals unpredictability, more interventionism. To adversaries, maybe an escalated willingness for direct conflict. It definitely sets a different tone.
Preparing people for a different approach.
Yeah, preparing the public, the military, everyone for a different strategic posture.
Okay. So, powerful imagery, provocative language, a major symbolic shift in government structure. Naturally, this didn't just happen in a vacuum.
No, definitely not.
The sources mention a strong reaction. Illinois Governor JB Pritzker.
A very direct response.
He didn't hold back, called the move dictatorial, and even hinted at suing, taking legal action.
Yes, which is a pretty significant escalation.
What does it tell us when a state governor pushes back that hard against federal actions, especially using a word like dictatorial?
Well, it raises that key question about federalism,
Yeah,
right? The balance between state and federal power in the U.S.
Okay.
Dictatorial is obviously a very, very charged term. It implies a belief that the federal government is seriously overreaching.
Exceeding its authority.
Yes, exceeding constitutional limits, maybe stepping on state rights and autonomy. It paints this picture of federal power trying to impose its will without the proper checks or without regard for the rules.
And the threat of legal action, is that just talk?
It could be more than that. It signals a serious challenge to the legality, the legitimacy of these federal moves.
How would that work legally?
Well, in terms of federal-state relations, a state might argue the executive order goes beyond presidential power, maybe infringes on rights reserved to the states under the 10th Amendment.
A constitutional fight.
Potentially, yes. A state essentially saying the federal government acted outside its proper authority, maybe trying to centralize power in a way that undermines the states.
So Governor Pritzker's viewpoint, as reported, highlights this perception of, well, a major departure from norms.
Exactly. That these actions aren't just policy disagreements, but represent something potentially undermining the balance of power, setting a precedent for how federal power interacts with states.
Okay, so let's try and bring these pieces together. We have the Apocalypse Now visual, the smell of deportations, quote, the executive order renaming defense to war, and then this strong dictatorial pushback from the governor.
Right. It's quite a package.
What does it all add up to when you look at them combined?
Well, synthesizing them, like the sources detail, it really reveals a powerful, specific narrative being constructed. It seems like a multi-pronged approach to projecting power and signaling a certain kind of intent.
Not just random events.
Doesn't seem like it. They feel connected. They combine to paint this picture of a particular administrative approach or philosophy.
Can you walk us through that connection?
Sure. The Apocalypse Now imagery sets that tone. Extreme readiness for conflict, maybe operating in that morally gray area.
Okay.
The quote about deportations adds this layer of emotional endorsement, almost celebration, of a specific enforcement action, trying to normalize it. Then renaming defense to war formally realigns a core institution with an overtly aggressive stance, shifting focus from protection to maybe potential offense.
Right.
And then Governor Pritzker's reaction was the dictatorial label, the legal threat that represents the counterforce, a robust challenge to what's perceived as maybe an authoritarian move. It highlights the deep divisions and tensions these actions stir up.
So the whole picture suggests what?
Well, together, these elements, as laid out in the sources, suggest a narrative of a federal administration willing to use very aggressive rhetoric, symbolically remake its military structure, and potentially challenge state authority to achieve its goals.
It projects an image.
Exactly. An image of uncompromising power, a willingness to confront perceived enemies or challenges directly, regardless of the political or legal pushback. It's a carefully crafted message, it seems.
So we've taken quite a deep dive here into what was undeniably a striking set of communications and actions.
We really have.
We've looked at the Apocalypse Now imagery, its cultural weight, the direct, very charged language in that quote.
The renaming of the department, the historical context there.
And that immediate strong reaction from Governor Pritzker touching on those big federal-state power questions.
And through it all, we've seen how these separate pieces, as detailed in the materials you shared, they fit together. They contribute to a bigger picture of this specific event, revealing the strategic intent and the perceived consequences.
It really shows how words and symbols can be deployed, doesn't it?
Absolutely. How carefully they can be chosen to shape landscapes, public and political.
Okay, so here's a final thought for you, our listeners, to chew on as you reflect on this deep dive.
Something to consider.
What is the impact? What's the real effect when political communication becomes this explicit, this symbolically charged? Using things like an Apocalypse Now threat or renaming a core department to the Department of War. What does that do to public discussion, to how we see governance itself?
And maybe, how does it affect the actual functioning of government, especially when state and federal powers clash so openly, so dramatically like this?
Lots to think about. We hope this deep dive has given you a clearer lens to view these complex events.